So we went from the normal flat lighting to a very cinematic lighting. This is how most people just light their scene. It's not bad, but it's just flat. It's not really cinematic. Today we are using a 4-light setup. Like I said, the first thing is to get your framing right. So you can put on the lights that are available to be able to see your framing properly. This is a lovely framing. We're using the chairs as leading lines, and we're using the frames as symmetric lines for our framing. Once the framing is done properly, we can move on to light. We're using this matte light for our key light today. The reason why I chose this matte light is because of the soft feel it has naturally. Now that there's no lights on the scene, Sam, you can even see yourself. How does it look? Yeah, it looks dark. This is what we want. We want to have full control of all the lights. Very important. And now turning on the key light, you can see the drastic difference in the lighting. This is what we call a Rembrandt lighting. Rembrandt lighting is a common cinematic lighting that's used. So it gives the face a particular shadow feel where you have this triangular shape in the other side of the face, creating depth, which is very important. You don't want your image to look flat. You always want to create depth. And that is why the key light is positioned 45 degrees to the camera. It just gives you that cinematic feel. So the second light we're going to add is our rim light. So we're also using an Amaran stick light for our rim lights. I talked about this stick light. I prefer it to other lights. Just with that being on, you can see the drastic difference that it has made to the lighting. See the air, it basically separates the subject from the background. Like this, naturally, it's a beautiful lighting. You can see the shape around this place. This is what we're looking for, just to give it a separation from the background so that it's not looking like a 2D image. Now it's looking more like a 3D image. If we go with this is actually perfectly fine. But like I said, we're going for an high-end lighting. So the next thing we do is we add in more lights. And examples of lights we're going to be adding is going to be background lights to fill up the background. The key light is on 5600 Kelvin, while the stick light is on 35, is it 35 or 20? 32. 3200 Kelvin to give that Tuscan feel, more like that golden hour feel or close to golden hour feel. Now let's turn on the backlight. Beautiful. Now this is the backlight. We're using this for the backlight just to give it a feel and to also show that the background is actually separated from it. And there's also a grid. I forgot to talk about a grid. So to avoid spillage of light, because light can spill possibly, and especially when you're in a room that you have a lot of white, it's easy for light to easily spill. So to avoid spillage of light, we always use a grid to direct light or focus it on a particular spot instead of spilling all over the place. So we use a grid on our key lights, and we also use a grid on the background light to avoid this spilling on the subject and just basically focus on a direction. And like I said, we're going for an high key lighting. So we also want to use a bounce light, which is an ash light that is bounced on the sky. Normally, if this ceiling wasn't white, we would have gotten a reflector. But luckily we have a white ceiling, which is easy for you to spread light evenly. So we bounce ash light to the sky and we get soft light in return. Give and take. All right. Boom. And just like that, we have our high key lighting evenly spread with all our strategic lights. So we went from the normal flat lighting to a very cinematic lighting. So this is a 4-light setup. We can actually go with more lights. For example, we can actually go with a fill light to fill up this side, and we can also go with a reflector. So you can have 10 lights in this room and everything will be playing a purpose. We can also go with another light in the back to actually highlight that image behind. You can have 20 lights and everything will serve a very important purpose. Cases where you don't have enough light, let's say we have just 2 lights. The most important light for you to note is your key light, and then you can add a practical light behind and you're good to go. If you have 3 lights, your key light, your rim light for the air to separate, and your either your practical light is important. So you can have 20 lights and everything will be very important. The more the lights, specifically good light Because if you have bad light, you will start getting flickers and unnecessary drama. But to cut this all short, I hope you learned something today. At the end of the day, it's your creativity that matters. Thank you. Till the next time I make up my mind to do something like this.